Hi, I'm Doug Wilson with the Center for Higher Ambition Leadership. Our purpose as an organization is to work with CEOs to help build high-performing organizations and a better world. Currently, we're interviewing CEOs who are higher ambition leaders and are working through new business models in their own organizations. Today, I have the pleasure of having with me Lou Shapiro, who's the president and CEO of the Hospital for Special Surgery, better known as HSS. HSS is the place to go if you are a patient and want treatment for neuromuscular or orthopedic care, including rheumatology. It's ranked #1 in the US News and World Report for orthopedic care, and it's ranked #2 for rheumatology. Lou, you've been the CEO for a number of years, have really helped in the transformation of this process. Maybe you could tell the listener a little bit about HSS, how it got started, and its transformation from where it started to where it is today.
HSS, I think, really has been undergoing a transformation since its founding. So back in 1863, a physician who was committed to taking care of children who had physical disabilities founded the organization. And orthopedics really wasn't a specialty back then. So these were non-surgical approaches to taking care of kids who had physical disabilities, largely rehab in nature. And in the mid-1880s, the board recruited an individual who was a surgeon. So right off the bat, the organization transformed. And for 154 years, stayed focused on taking care of patients who had the kinds of problems that you described. And the place was always committed to excellence. That really was sort of the foundation. Nothing less than that was acceptable. And I would say up until the mid-90s was almost like a boutique organization. It was small, but it was famous. And it was known worldwide for its academic sophistication. People came here to learn. People who were here went other places to teach. And that was the foundation for its global reputation. And then in the mid-90s, thanks to the foresight of a forward-thinking board, the organization made an investment in facilities that enabled growth. And from the mid-90s through the last 20 years, the organization has grown probably 6 or 7 times in size. I've been here 10 years. We've grown threefold over the course of that decade, all the while not taking our eye off the ball, maintaining our focus on one type of patient population, and being committed to nothing less than excellence in our field, which is what has allowed us to be in the position we're in today.
The organization has made a commitment to actually begin thinking about a new era of where you're going. Why are you deciding to make a major shift when you're already the academic leader and you're the clinical leader in the United States or perhaps in the world?
Transformation is part of the organization's DNA from the beginning. And I believe that the status quo is not possible for an excellent organization in a changing world. We're not veering off of our core competency. Our core competency is what we know about taking care of patients who have musculoskeletal diseases with an academic foundation. And that academic foundation is teaching, research, and innovation. The healthcare industry is constantly undergoing change and has uncertainty. Competition is increasing. And we need to not keep up with how things are changing, but help lead how things are changing. But we're trying to protect what we have and build on what we've accomplished. We are transforming our business model to leverage our history in the privileged position that we're in today.
So you talk about in your strategy statement that I've read, transitioning from being a focused factory to a knowledge factory. Can you explain what that means and give us some insights into that?
Absolutely. We know more about taking care of patients with musculoskeletal problems than anyone else in the world. So people in business academic circles may describe that as a focus factory. So that focus factory has gotten us into our position today. Given everything that's changing in the industry, it's a complicated business model to sustain. So the way I think about where we are today is that our influence in the world and with patients and the economics that drive the organization and make it work come from what we do. But we want to evolve the business model so that our influence and our economics comes from what we know. So how do we drive innovation in what we call the life sciences? And for us, that means drug discovery and devices and care delivery, and take that to the world in a commercial fashion. So we're not veering off our academic mission where we provide knowledge because that's part of what we do, but there's a commercial side to the Knowledge Factory as well where we want to monetize that.
So what are some of the new skills, competencies, leadership requirements as you're making this transition into more of this knowledge factory from a focus factory? What are some new competencies that have to be developed in the organization?
Well, I think that part of the new competencies that need to be developed have to do making sure that the core competencies are maintained.
Okay.
And it's very easy to lose sight of that. Just culture, how we create a culture here, the focus on talent. So I think the first core competency is not to lose sight of what you have as you're building that. And we're in an environment now that is engineering based. You're bringing in people who have skill sets that you may normally think of residing at Google or Uber or at Facebook or at organizations outside of healthcare that are revolutionizing their industry. I think the biggest opportunity for us is to maintain the culture, continue to retain and recruit talent, and win the hearts and minds of the people who have this knowledge in them and get them excited about this so they see the potential for the organization.
One of the words that comes to my mind is partnerships as well. You have this unique specialization right here, this little jewel, and you know that people are going to be looking to learn both academically and clinically. How you then partner in those kind of relationships is going to be really interesting to see how that emerges.
This is a recurring theme. Core is protecting our leadership position and making sure we are successful at home. And home for us is the 75-mile radius around HSS where 20 million people live. So that's number one. That's the core. The outer circle has two parts to it. One is we have other places, other geographies where there are either healthcare organizations or countries domestically and internationally that want to replicate the HSS brand. They want us to help them. So we do that in either a advisory capacity where we help them get better. We're doing that in Brazil and in South Korea. And we're working on creating what I call minimum efficient scale replication of HSS. What's the smallest unit where we can regulate quality, be efficient and profitable, and replicate this organization? The other half of the outer circle is what I said before about innovation in life sciences and care delivery. We have many examples where we have spun out companies that are doing these things. The vast majority of them are in partnership with someone else. One of our engineers designed basically artificial cartilage that's now a startup outside of HSS on its own, continuing to develop that technology, and hopefully that will go to market. But partnering with other organizations in all of those areas they bring a core competency that matches our core competency, and together we're taking that to the market. So partnership is key.
having a culture of excellence and a culture of innovation, sometimes those are difficult to put together.
I don't think they conflict. So remember, the people that are responsible for the creation of the brand and the commitment to excellence, not independently, but are responsible, are these people that you're talking about that are driving innovation. That's what HSS is about, right? Our physicians and scientists and all the people that surround them, that enable them to be who they are and accomplish what we accomplish. They're the ones who are innovating. It's not me, it's them. And there are ideas that come up, and we'll look at them, we'll vet them, and there's a fiduciary responsibility to make sure we're not going too far afield on something. And we do have the ability to say no, but that's controlled. You can't be completely risk adverse to be successful in this environment. You need to be smart about the risk you take whether you're innovating or growing the old-fashioned way. The riskiest thing that we could do is try to stay the same.
So Lou, in the process of this change, you're the CEO, you've been learning a lot. What are a couple of leadership lessons for you personally that you've been learning in the last, say, 2 years as you've been a part of this process and as you've been exposed to other really dynamic leaders that are out there doing some of this? What are some of the things you're learning?
It's really important that leaders who are trying to help their organizations transform create, not alone, but with the whole team, an inspiring vision. That's the only way you are going to win the hearts and minds of it. You have to figure out where the barriers are, because this is new. You can't do transformation in a smart, thoughtful, successful way, the way that you ran your organization before. It's different. It's different. And that has to do with things like risk taking. So what are the barriers? Break them down. I'm a firm believer in the structure, process, outcome framework. So you have the right structure to do this. I'll give you just one small example. We have as most organizations do, they have growing legal departments, and we're recruiting an innovation attorney who sits in the innovation center as opposed to in the general counsel's office. Obviously, they'll be connected, but it's making sure that we create the right structure that allows us to accelerate the pace and cadence of innovation. And traditional organizational bureaucracy, without that sounding like a criticism or a negative thing, doesn't impede progress.
Right. You've been a part of the Center for Higher Ambition Leadership for a few years here. And how has it been helpful for you in the journey? How has it helped expand your mind and some of your thinking?
When you're sitting around with a group of leaders of companies, of organizations across all industries who have aspirations for their organization that others don't have or others don't think are achievable, it's inspiring.
Yeah.
Right? And inspiration is really important. Learning is very important, and inspiration and learning is what I get out of this. The first meeting I went to, I presented a case, and this was right before we introduced our current strategic roadmap, which formalized the transformation. And that 1 hour presenting the case about this organization, what we're trying to do, and the feedback evolved how I was thinking about it, which led us to where we are today, which is, I think, a great position. So what I get out of it is being inspired by what others do and learning from their successes and mistakes and counsel